Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you and your family cruise a little smarter. And I'd like to welcome back to the show all the way down in Florida. How you doing today, Christy?
I am well, Steve. How are you?
Not too bad. We are going to talk about, I just released an episode today of Chris's Walt Disney World report or trip report. And now we're going to talk about your latest trip report.
Yay, we finally get to do a Christy trip report.
We do. But before we do that, we need to bring our guest on today. He is the host of the Magical Wanderlust Podcast, good friend of the show. Welcome back to the DCL podcast. Anthony, how are you doing today?
Hi, Steve. Hi, Christy. How are you guys doing? I'm doing wonderful. I'm feeling refreshed from my wonderful cruise.
You are Christy's yin to her yang, I think, as far as cruising together. It sounded like you guys had a great time. Saw some of the pictures and everything like that. How many times have you been cruising since the cruise line started again? How many DCL cruises have you been back on, Anthony?
So this is actually my first one.
Oh, what?
Yeah, my first one. So I have a lot of obstacles when it comes to, I do not live in Florida, unfortunately. I have two special needs boys that have required quite a bit of my time. I work in healthcare, so I do own a travel agency, but additionally, I also work as a paramedic in healthcare. So there's been quite a bit of restrictions on like how often I've been able to get away from that. As many people know, healthcare is super short-handed right now. So we've had to do quite a bit. I've had to work quite a bit in the healthcare field. So I haven't had a big chance to get away on a cruise. But I'm going to be rectifying that all in the second half of the year.
Okay, now I'm gonna throw some shade Christy's way, because like she sent me a picture of you asleep like on the couch almost immediately. It's like, no wonder you're sleeping. You've got no time to sleep at home.
Oh, yeah. He worked like 48 hours before we even left or something to go on our cruise on Thursday. So that week. So he worked a lot of hours. He was entitled to sleep. But man, literally every time he was sitting somewhere, he was sleeping. And in minutes, and just instantly asleep everywhere.
I feel like it's maybe it might be a guy thing too, that because my husband can fall asleep quite quickly too. So, I mean, to give you an idea, most people work about 500 hours in the first quarter of the year. When I added up all the hours that I had to work, it was over 720 hours. I was exhausted, and I told Christy when we planned this, I was like, listen, I'm going to be sleeping at every second I get. And she was like, that's fine.
He was not kidding. He was not. I went outside. I called my family for like 5 minutes, I think. I came back in and he was snoring on the couch.
All right. Well, let's just jump into this cruise. Christy, why don't you set up this cruise? Where did you guys go? Where did it sail out of? And which ship did you sail on?
We were on the Disney Magic, which, funnily enough, is the only ship Anthony has ever cruised on. And the next couple of cruises he is coming up on the Disney Magic, we just want Anthony to stay on the Magic all the time. So we cruised on the Magic out of Miami. So that was fun. And we left on a Thursday, came back on a Monday.
And it was a 4-night cruise. Where'd you guys stop at?
We stopped at Nassau and Castaway Cay.
Okay. And this was a cruise that you were hosted by Disney. How does that work as a travel agent? You guys are both travel agents. We'll talk about that at the beginning. Anthony's mentioned that he has a travel agency, and everybody from our show knows that you're a travel agent too, Christy. How does that work to be hosted by Disney?
Basically, Disney sets up training cruises that they call them on occasion, and they invite agents, different agents. Sometimes it's an agency that they say, send somebody if you want, or send a cabin full of people. Sometimes it's just, you're invited. They also invite influencers, which we are not. We are not in that category. Yeah, this was the first year, I would say, since the restart. So this past 8 months or whatever, that in the 11 years that I've been almost 12 years that I've been a travel agent, that I've been hosted by Disney Cruise Line.
So pretty exciting to be able to do that and then be able to sail with them, get your experiences and then pass them on to your clients and also through people in the podcast too.
Absolutely.
All right. So you guys sail out of Miami, and since Anthony's been on the Magic, he's had to have been sailed. I know you've sailed out of Europe, Anthony. Have you sailed out of Miami before?
I have not sailed out of Miami. Like Chris said, I have only been on the Magic. I will be gold only on the Magic. I will not step onto a different ship until I believe I'm scheduled to be on the Wish in September. So I'll go from the Magic to the Wish. I have a one on the Dream, but I will be gold on the Magic. I feel like there should be a badge for that. For
our last sailing on the Wonder, we were gold on the Wonder. So I totally agree with you. You should be able to get like some kind of like magnet or metal or something like that. So they should have a pin at least, right?
We don't even get our regular Castaway Club magnets, let alone like magnets per ship you've Castaway Club leveled at.
That's true. All right. So you guys sail out of Miami. That's kind of an iconic sail. I know Chris Bright from the show really loves it. How is it getting on board as far as kind of the COVID process and everything like that compared to Port Canaveral, Christy?
Well, Miami, we've had Sarah on before and she gave a very detailed review. I think Lake as well and Katie gave a detailed review. Miami's chaotic as a whole. Like I was walking up from the bus depot or the bus. I took the Disney transportation. So one of the things that I did get on this cruise were transfers on Disney transportation, which I used for the first leg to get from the airport to, let me say this. Let me go back for a second. I rented a car in Orlando because I was flying at the end of the cruise to Detroit. So I rented a car. So I took this was a planes, trains, and automobile experience. I took a lift from my house to the airport. I picked up my rental car. I drove to the Miami airport and dropped off my rental car because that's where there was a rental car exchange. There is one listed at the Port of Miami, but it is not reopened as far as I could tell. I took the Disney transportation, which let me tell you, if you are taking that from Miami, get your walking shoes ready because I think I walked a mile. And I'll be curious to know, Anthony, if you took Disney transportation back to the airport, because we never talked about that. And if you had to walk a mile once you got to the airport to get to your gate. Anthony is shaking his head yes, because you guys, I kid you not when I say you have to walk a mile. Where the rental car return is, there's a tram. There's like a train. So there was the train portion of my planes, trains, and automobiles. You get to like this area and then they're like, you're at level, you pick up your Disney transportation, which they'll tell you when you go to book it at either level 33 or 3. These baggage claim areas were huge and you have to get all the way to the end. And I assume when they drop you off, they're putting you right back in the exact same area. So the point is, get your walking shoes on. You have all of your luggage, so you're going to take that with you. It was cumbersome by myself. I did not approve. I did not appreciate it. So
in hindsight, in relatively, or in whatever, in the opposite, I had a very easy travel day. I worked until 3 a.m. that morning. I went home. I grabbed my luggage. I got on a plane.
Took a nap.
I took a nap on the plane. I flew into Fort Lauderdale, which was a mistakenly done by me, but which worked out fine because when I booked with JetBlue, I put in apparently Miami area, and I didn't confirm when I looked at I was flying into Miami airport. But I flew into Fort Lauderdale, which was perfectly fine. And the pro tip I will tell you is that, so I am a small business and I'm big into helping, other people, small businesses. And so when I was walking out of the airport, I noticed that a taxi stand was right there. And, the whole economics of Lyft versus Uber and how they're putting the taxis out of business. I was like, you know what, I'm going to support this person and try to put some food on their table and take the taxi. And before that, I had looked at and see how much Lyft was going to be. And it was going to be $42, and it was going to be about 45 minutes, and it was going to take about 15 minutes for them to get me a car there. I walked out, and the taxi stand was right there, and there was 2 taxis, and they were ready to go. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just do this. I got into a taxi, and by the time I had gotten to the terminal, I paid $96 for the taxi. If you want to support a local taxi guy, because if you know the economics of taxis, then they have to make a certain amount of money a day to break even, then by all means. But if you're flying into Fort Lauderdale, I would highly recommend doing the Lyft, because the Lyft is a set price and the taxi was not. And I was actually, I came from 1,200 miles away, and Christy came from 200 miles away or something, and I beat her by
hours.
By hours. I was cleared through the testing and on the ship and eating my first lunch when she had just landed, when she had just gotten to the airport. So I'm just saying, she may live in Florida, but I can definitely beat her to the terminal.
Florida is large. first of all. Driving in Miami is as crazy as everybody says, second of all. Third of all, I walked 80 miles to get to that stupid bus transportation to save $25. So I know, Steve, before the show, you said you wanted some tips. And here are 2 tips. One is, well, I have 3 tips. Don't take a cab from the Fort Lauderdale airport to the Miami terminal. Don't maybe take Disney transportation from the Miami airport. Take a cab, because you can get a cab right outside every door. And it's like $27. It's a flat rate.
It's a set price, right? Yeah.
It's a flat price. Yep. And right now the flat price is $27. And then you should tip the person. I had a third tip. Now I don't remember. So we'll move on and we'll see if we come back to it.
We've talked enough about the COVID, getting
whatever. The test right now takes 10 minutes. It literally took 10 minutes. It was very easy.
Okay. So great. So some differences on this sailing that have come back. And I think it came back, maybe yours was the first one. I'm not even sure. Maybe the dream and the fantasy, but you guys had the sail away party. Can you talk about that a little bit?
We sure did.
Is that something that you normally go to, Anthony?
I do. I love the sail away party. I love the song. It's probably one of my favorite songs that Disney puts out.
Yes, that song is the song they used to sing for us when there was just 10 other families sitting in the atrium. My favorite little song. And I didn't have to be amongst the people to hear it. So I'm going to be just playing a replay, a video from now on.
Well, Chrissy was like, we need to go. So a large portion of travel agent trips is that we need to grab content so we can share it with our clients. And for our social media. And so Chrissy was like, I want to go. And I was like, I always go because I love the song and I love the dancing. And so we
woke up from his nap.
I did. I woke up from a nap. We grabbed spots directly in front of it on deck 11. Is it deck 11?
No, deck 10, because it's deck 8 is the ones and then 9 is the pool deck.
And so we were directly in front. We posted a couple of photos and videos of it. We had a perfect line of sight for the entire sail away party. They do the entire party. It's my favorite thing that happens on that day. I will go to it every single time. I'll go to it when we're in Greece. I will go to it when we're in Norway. I will go to it every single time because I just love the song. You can watch it on the YouTube video and you can watch it as many times as you want on your phone, but there's nothing like in person. And when they announce you're officially on vacation, then that's when your cruise starts.
I love that. And especially like out of Miami too, being up on deck 10. I'm not going to be down on deck 9 with the masses, but I'm on deck 10 with a nice sail away drink, watching all those rich mansions go by as you leave Miami, and just kind of the whole atmosphere is fun. Christy, I know it's not your favorite thing, but did you enjoy it?
It was fine. Yes, fine. I did it. I have now on my 16th, I believe this was my 16th cruise, experienced the sail away party where it's supposed to be. Deck 11 had the masses. Let me just make sure that is pointed out very clearly. It was very crowded up there, but fine. And then Anthony and I did watch the show. And for listeners that are new or somebody that maybe hasn't experienced it or whatever, they did allow all the children to come out into the stage. So they did once they did the beginning part, which you guys know because you've seen it 100 times, where they do Disney it is Disney characters and stuff too. So there's that part that occurs on the stage, which is Disney entertainment. Then those people sort of go away, right? Or they move them to a different part of the stage. And then they funnel the children out on the one part of the stage. So if you want your kids to be a part of that experience, they can. If you don't, maybe be on a different deck. So just so people can be prepared for that. And then Anthony and I did go to the Cove, the adults only area, to watch us actually sail away. So once we did the sail away party, we went to a little bit of a haven area.
So let's go back with the Wayback Machine. It's excited to see the sail away party back. I know a lot of people are going to be excited about that when they get on their cruise. Let's go to the Wayback Machine and go back just an hour or two before that. And what did you guys do when you got on board for food? I think you guys did a couple different dinners, second lunch, third lunch, something like that.
So, like I said, I was way better than Christy, and I got to the port way before she did, even though I'm 1,000 miles more away. And I was like, I'm starving. But Christy was like, I want to go do sit down. And I was like, she's like, go have first lunch. So I went and had first lunch at Cabanas. You can now serve, I don't know how it's been, but you serve yourself now. And the food was super and great. I don't remember exactly what
Did they have crab legs? You had beef because you sent me a picture.
Oh, yeah.
And they did have the crab legs out?
They did have the crab legs.
That's impressive because my mom said they're like $1 billion a pound right now because of blah, blah, blah availability. But anyway, so, okay. Crab legs are back the first day. That's exciting. Do you recall if they had sushi?
They did.
Oh,
they
so
did have
like the
sushi.
regular buffet is back the first time.
Yeah.
Okay. So Anthony had first lunch. By the time I got on board, I said, come meet me for lunch, please. And we went to Rapunzel's was open. And that was my first time ever in Rapunzel's. It is as beautiful as everybody says. I love it there so much. Our meal was amazing. Our service was amazing. That waiter that we had that first day would find us because he was on our dining rotation and would like come up and say hi and see how we were doing. And is there anything he could bring us? Like he was amazing the whole cruise. And we just had him for lunch the first day.
But our serving staff for the entire cruise was incredible. So we actually asked them if they were going to be on our future sailings, and they will not be on our Greece sailing, but they will be back for my Norway sailing. Mm-hmm. So I will be requesting them for my Norway sailing.
Well, let's keep running with food then. You guys had an amazing serving team. Christy, first time going to Rapunzel's. What do you guys want to talk about? Some of your favorite experiences, favorite restaurant?
So here's a fun pro tip that I'm sure some listeners know or don't know, but we took full advantage of it. You can order food from any of the restaurants that are serving that current menu. And so Steve, in true Steve fashion, I put a standing order in for escargot every single night.
Every single night he had escargot.
Escargot.
Love it.
And so I had escargot. I will not be shy about the fact that I will eat a lot of food, but the night we had Animator's Palette, I was not really all impressed with the menu. And so my entire meal actually came from other restaurants. So
why? Have we never done this? Because we know that the menu is the same and that you can get items from the other restaurants. I do not like the Animator's Palette dinner menu. I don't like that teriyaki sauce. My husband loves it. Or that whatever they put on the beef. It's fine. I don't love it. Why haven't I ordered?
So Ed from our show, when we sailed on the Wonder out of New Orleans, Anawake and I ate with him every night. He gets the exact same meal every single night. And I think it comes from Triton's. So
yeah, the only time you can't do that is the Pirate Night menu, because that menu is the menu.
Okay.
And so they can special order you certain things on that night or just go to Palo. We do.
Like we did.
Well, this is your first time going to Rapunzel's Royal Table, Christy. How did you think of the show? What was your thoughts about that?
I loved everything about it, really. The lantern show, and we're not going to give stuff away, but it was beautiful. The pictures are amazing that you can get in there. The food was really good. I think that might be my favorite menu. We ate lunch. Yeah, lunch there, our last sea day. And that food was amazing. Like that was probably the very best meal that we had, at least for me. Those short ribs at lunch, you guys, if you have a menu with Rapunzel's and short ribs for lunch, you must get them. They are so good.
Better than the McRib?
Nice.
Sorry, I'll cut that out. Just gonna keep it in your toes.
I think you should leave it in there.
I agree. Rapunzel's was probably my favorite menu, evidenced by the fact that I ordered the pesto pasta or the tangled pasta every night. And our server I was trying to semi-be good. Not really. No, I'm lying. I was trying to semi-be good, but our server would
You were polite.
The
whole time.
And she would force food on me. And so she was like, you really like the tangled pasta. Do you want it again? I was like, I guess if you're offering it. And then she was like, well, do you want it with that other food? And I was like, yeah, I want that food too, because I want to try the menu. And she was like, well, I'll bring you the tangled pasta too. And so she would force feed me these. So one night she ended up bringing me 4 entrees. And I was like, I feel wasteful now, but I ate a lot of it. So
it was partially Anthony's ordering and partially our waitress. She really I think one night we each had 3 desserts and I ordered 1, but she was so the best still. She was really good.
I'm really sad she's not going to be on our Greece cruise.
I know, I am too. The food on this cruise was really good. So I can say that. The menus obviously are the same as they always are for people who have cruised repeatedly. But my new thing is I am no longer eating the dinner menu and Animator's Palette, except for that ham and cheese, that prosciutto, that appetizer. And like you guys get like the pasta purses and all that stuff. I can't have that. So from now on, I'm ordering from the other places.
Well, good advice there. One last question about the main dining rooms with, things kind of coming back to the normal way Disney used to sail before the pandemic. Well, endemic, wherever we are today. Were they putting people together with like people that weren't traveling together? Were they combining tables yet? Did you see that?
We heard that was supposed to be returning, and we weren't sure if that was going to return for us too as agents, because before the cruise, somebody else was linked to like our reservation, because again, Disney set up our booking. Like they said, oh, here's your sailing. Would you like to go? We said yes. And then like a month later, we got our booking number. And then when we logged in at one point, we were linked up with like other people. So I assume maybe at one point we were supposed to eat dinner with these people. But I did request in my whiny baby way that we get moved to first dining, which frankly, Anthony made fun of me. And there's no way, because he was never awake at that hour except one time. So he was never going to make it to second dining. So we ate at first dining and we did not have anybody else at our table.
Okay. Palo, you guys went to Palo. Was that for brunch or for dinner?
We went for dinner.
Okay. And how was that, Anthony?
Delightful. To be honest with you, so you can do the prefix menu, which is $45, or you can just do an a la carte. And, in all honesty, Chrissy's platinum, so we got $45 credit for our meal. So I could have spent nothing and just done the prefix menu. But there was nothing on the prefix menu I wanted. I wanted everything that was not on the prefix menu.
It's amazing how they do that, don't they?
He wanted everything that was not on the prefix menu.
So I just sucked up and dealt with it. My meal in total, if I had to have paid for the entire thing, would have been $107 for myself. Wow. I worked my way through every section of the menu, and I ate a good majority of each.
Ate it all.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
So I had the lobster pasta. I had the antipasta salad. I had ossobuco. I had both of the souffles. So they always have at least a chocolate souffle. But the last 2 times I've been on the Magic, they also had amaretto souffle. And amaretto is one of my favorite flavors. I get amaretto sours if I'm going to drink anything usually that has alcohol in it. And so I got the amaretto, and it was just delicious. We did a slow-mo of both of them doing it, and it's magical.
Yeah, he got 2 souffles.
I love the amaretto.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And so I went for it. Like, I got all the things on the menu. Am I sad that it's not like the standard $45 pricing that it used to be, where the upcharge? Yeah, but at that point you're on a Disney cruise, and I was just like, I'm gonna get it. So I ended up getting, I think, 5 dishes plus my 2 desserts, and I don't regret any of it.
I mean,
it was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, such an amazing experience up there. And I mean, for what you pay for like high-end restaurants nowadays in any big city, you're still getting a great deal, I think, overall. So let's turn to your room. Okay, so you're hosted by Disney. How did the room work? Were you able to pick where you wanted to stay? What did you guys end up with?
We were in a veranda, and it was a general, like the basic veranda. So we had a guarantee navigator's veranda. And then we had what would be deemed a full veranda. We were on deck 7. And Steve, you've talked about this with your family before. The Magic and the Wonder are such a walkable ship. Anthony and I only took the elevator like 3 times, I think, because we could take the stairs and it wasn't bad. Like, I even wasn't sounding like I was going to have a heart attack when we got to the top. There were we weren't going to be singing a song after we walked up, but it was those elevators, by the way, also the size of my desk, very small in the aft of the ship. And so our cabin was aft, like right outside the elevator. In fact, I would write this down, people. 7114 is not the cabin you want if you hear things, because we could hear literally everything. The door jam. It was fine. The cabin location was great, except for the fact that it was in front of a service station. And they like to slam that service station all the time when they would go in and out of that door. And I
didn't hear it at all. In my infinite ability to fall asleep, it did not bother me one bit.
And it was fine at night because I had to also block out Anthony's snoring. So I used my noise machine pretty loudly, and it was fine. We both slept beautifully. Anthony slept on the fold down bed, which I think is important to talk about because he's obviously a grown man, and he slept in like the kid bed, the couch that becomes a bed. So do you want to talk about that, Anthony?
Yeah. So ironically, I just realized right before we were talking about this, I have never slept in the main bed. I've always slept in that bed because the first cruise I did was in Norway, and that was with one of my friends. And I have a thing about sharing beds with people that are not my husband. And so I slept in the side bed because I didn't think it was fair to be like, I don't sleep with other people in my bed, so I'm just going to sleep in a small bed. And then the other one cruise, I was with my husband, but we also had our child with us. And our child did not want to sleep in that bed. He wanted to sleep in the bed, the big bed. And so my husband and my child slept in the big bed. And I, once again, slept in the small side bed. And then on this cruise, I slept in the side bed because I actually don't mind it. I think it's really comfortable.
And you could put like your little, he keeps a fan with him, and he can blow it on his face the entire night. And
I make no secret of it that I'm slightly high maintenance in that fact that I also bring 2 blankets with me. And so I make my own bed. So I had a wonderful little setup of my own blankets in that little area. And I just put the fan on me, and I passed out with no problem and slept through the night. I think they're comfortable.
So you're ready to go in the Halcyon and get in that little bunk bed thing that they've got going on that too, huh?
I'm not sure I could sleep on the top bunk, but in August we might have to find out because the 4 of us are staying, me, my husband, and my 2 kids are staying in one room together. So we'll have to find out and see how that goes.
Well, there we go. We'll look forward to hearing that on your podcast. Well, that's good to know. So, if you're traveling with friends or if for whatever reason as an adult, you need to sleep on those beds, because I've never actually slept on them. I know our kids are kind of getting a little bit tired of them as they get bigger, but I think that's just more them wanting to have their own.
I mean, to give you a reference, I'm 5'5" and I fit comfortably on the bed. I think if you were if you started adding like 2 or 3 inches, you might feel a little cramped on it, but shorter adults, I guess it's very comfortable.
That's a good point there. All right, I'm going to make you guys put your travel agent hats on. What are some of the advice you give your clients, Christy, when they first book a Disney cruise with you, especially somebody that's like sailing the first time when it comes to picking a cabin? What are some of your tips?
Well, if possible, if there's a motion sickness problem, I tell them not to go into the very forward front of the ship, because we've talked about this before, physics, blah, blah, blah. The ship moves up and down, and you will feel that. The higher you up and the more forward you are, the more you will feel the motion. But you also have a choice, which you don't, depending on your cabin on the Magic. I would not go below the pool deck. So because you hear all the chairs and the movement and the heels walking by, we've talked about that some other shows. So like if I'm having a choice, these are some of the decisions I would make. I would not go across from a laundry room. I would not go across from a service station. You can tell the service stations on the deck maps because there's like a blank space. And that's where like the crew elevators and stuff are. So, or the crew stairs. So in the reason again is because, and I think it's Magic specific because I did not hear as much outside my door on the Dream and the Fantasy when I have cruised them. Like every time somebody would walk by, we could hear them, whether they were loud or not, as if they were like sitting down on our bed and having a chat with us. So I think that particular door was just not very soundproof. In general, like if you are a light sleeper, my advice is to bring a white noise machine. I don't use a machine anymore. We used to, but now with cell phones, you can get them on there on the iPad. And so just some ambient white noise, like waves or whatever, right? Something like that to just cover up some of the hallway noise, because people forget or they're having a fun time, right? Or little children are like being cute little boppity children down the hall. And so if you're sleeping, you can hear some of that either in the morning or at night. So depending on your sleeping habits also will depend on where you want your cabin. I try not to be above the movie theater as well, or the theater, because you will hear and feel some of those vibrations from the base. And I try not to be like, again, right around the movie theater, because again, that noise. And then we had a trip report once I had a guaranteed room and we were placed right next to the other side at the kids club on deck 5. So like that side was annoying because it was a one-way hallway to nowhere. And B, you could hear so much noise through the wall. So like just little stuff like that, I would just try to pay attention to where your room's located. If possible, have rooms above and below you. And if possible, don't have a room maybe right next to a service station. But being near the elevator is nice too. Like I personally don't like to be in the very middle of the hallway because it's an 80-mile walk from, especially on the bigger ships.
Especially in Dream of Fantasy. Yeah.
Yes, from the elevator to some of those cabins. So, there's some advantage to being a few off of the elevator walkway there so that you can just take your stairs, pop in and out, easy.
How about you, Anthony? What are some of the questions that you get from your clients?
So the biggest advice I get when I book clients on any DCL cruise is to be sandwiched between 2 floors that are all, if not 90% staterooms. And I say this for 2 reasons. One, if you're sandwiched between 2 floors that are staterooms, you are going to avoid a lot of the noise things that Christy has mentioned, particularly on the Magic. Floor 6 is kind of my favorite but you do have the kids club, which is on the 5th floor, which is right below you. But so sometimes the 7th floor is usually the best. There are staterooms above and below you. And I say that because your foot traffic is going to be a lot less, because the only reason anyone's going to be on that floor is on the stairwell going down to the kids club or to Animator's Palette or Rapunzel's, which is located on decks 3 and 4. And that is in the aft of the ship. Or because they actually are on that floor, they're staying physically on that floor. So if you're looking for a quiet place, I always say try to look at the deck plan and look at floors that are sandwiched between 2 other staterooms. Yes, would it be lovely to be, if you had kids and you wanted to be on floor 6 right above the kids club, so you literally just walk down the stairs, it'd be great, but you are going to hear some of the noise from the kids club. Granted, the kids club, closes at 10 or 11 now.
Yes, but they clean it in the middle of the night. So that's what we were hearing. We were hearing the rock music coming through at 2 a.m. from the people cleaning the kids club in the middle of the night. So I was like, oh, well, this is new.
So I always say I try to be sandwiched in between 2 floors. If that can't be, then I would say probably place your room closer to where you think you're going to be spending most of your time. So if you are going to be spending a lot of your time in the adults only area, I would say probably be towards the aft, because your Cove is going to be in the aft, Fathoms, all of those nightclub situations are going to be towards the aft of the ship. I believe, yes, they are the aft of the ship.
Well, Fathoms was forward. So on the Fantasy and the Dream, all of that adult entertainment is on the aft of the ship. But on the Magic, and then I assume the Wonder, it was forward. So where you're going to be spending a lot of your time would be the next, if you can't get in between 2 staterooms. If you're in a guaranteed cabin, you kind of just have to take what you get. I mean, and the last 2 cruises I've been on, we've been in guaranteed cabins, so I have not had an option. And there's very little you can do once you get assigned your room. So there's pros and cons. I feel like everywhere on the ship is great. You're on a Disney cruise ship. It just really depends on what kind of stateroom you've booked. So you always, if you have a certain category that you want, you're definitely going to want to book that category, because, you always hear sometimes about people being upgraded, but that's definitely not a guarantee. So definitely not. The one guarantee is that you will have the category that you've booked into, at least. So, and then they'll put you anywhere else. Before we move on from this guarantee topic, I want to sit on it for one more minute. I don't think we did a trip report of my March cruise. And there was one thing, I think I've mentioned it on a cruise, but while we're talking about tips, if you have a guaranteed cabin and you are cruising with another party that you've linked your reservations for, and if your travel agent has done it just online, or you've done it yourself online, that you've just linked it where you can through Disney system, it's linking you for everything, which means if you have a guaranteed cabin and they assign your cabin, they may give you a connecting cabin because they might think you want that with the person you are traveling with. So in our case, for my March cruise, we liked each other, right? We were friends. I went with a friend. We wanted to, though, be able to have maybe a little privacy with our own families. And through that connecting door, you can hear conversations, you can hear stuff. So I would have preferred to not have a connecting cabin on that particular cruise. So now if I am traveling with people, like Anthony and I are linked for our Greece cruise for dining, and I have linked us for dining and excursions, but not cabin placement, because I want both of us to have the opportunities to just be placed wherever they're going to place us and not try to make us connecting cabins. Because, we're friends, but we don't need to be that good of friends.
I'm also traveling with no kids on the Greece cruise.
That's
so
true.
As much as I love Christy, I do not need to be hearing a child because I will be kidless.
All good advice there. Let's turn to entertainment. What were some of the things? We've got Tangled the Musical on board, which is a fan favorite for a lot of people. What were some of the entertainment options you guys experienced?
Listen, Steve, I'm going to be quite honest. I didn't go to any of the entertainment because
That's not entirely true, but you went to the spa that first day.
Oh my gosh.
You did fall asleep at the spa.
Then let's talk about the spa. What did you guys do at the spa? And
I did not pre-book anything because this was, I don't know, not a last minute scheduled trip, but 2 months, 2 or 3 months.
Well, Disney didn't give us our reservation number until a month, or it was less than the 30 days, I believe, before. So
here are some really great tips about the spa, because I spent a copious amount of time at the spa on RC day. If you book the spa on the first day, you get a discount. I believe it's 10%. If you book 1, 2, 3, or even 4 treatments all at the same time, you get a discount. So on the first treatment, you'll get 10% plus 10% because you booked on the first day. On the second treatment, you get 20% off. On the third treatment, you get 30% off. And on the fourth treatment, you get 30% off. So they layer the discounts, first of all. The lady was very nice. She's like, make sure your most expensive treatments are at the end, because that's the one where you'll be getting the 20 and 30% off. So the first day I did the haircut and the shave because I had not gotten time to get a haircut. And then she kind of just threw in the shave too, because I was like, I want to try as many of the treatments as I can.
Well, and we had talked about it because Steve talked about liking that shave so much. So I was like, oh, you should try it. And you're like, okay.
So I got the haircut. I may have fallen asleep slightly during the haircut. To remind you, I had been up since pretty much 24 hours already. And then I went and got the shave. I like the shave. It is very close shave. I fell asleep, 100% fell asleep, because you go into the chair and she puts this padding thing on top of you, and you put your hands there, and then she puts a warm towel over you, and then she puts another warm towel over your chest, and then she wraps your head in a warm towel, and I'm just like, ma'am, you are asking me to fall asleep right now. And then she lathers your face, where whoever your person is. And they do a 4-step process. It is not just a quick shave. It is they moisturize. I fell asleep. It was delightful, but I woke up and my face, this is still from the cruise. It was a very close cut. And then, so I did that on the first day. And then on the last day, I went and got a manicure, pedicure, and I got a massage, a bamboo massage. The bamboo massage was delightful. They use a bamboo wooden stick, and they literally just scrape it against your body, and I love that. I did that. And the manicure pedicure, they list it at 1 hour and 45 minutes on the thing. I was like, there's no way it's going to take 1 hour and 45 minutes to do a manicure pedicure. It took 1 hour and 45 minutes. It is 100% the length that they tell you, because they do a 20-step process on every single toenail. It's a full experience, almost to the point where when I did the massage and the manicure pedicure, at the end of the 3.5 hours, I was like, wow, this is a really long time in here. But it's lovely. And it's what I should have spent was about $650, but with all the discounts and everything, with gratuity, it came out to $447. So there's definitely an advantage to booking it on the ship. The disadvantage is that you kind of get left with whatever time there is available. We were at sea that day, so it didn't really matter to me. but also the biggest advantage is that you get those later discounts that they provide you. The thing I will say is I've been on multiple cruise lines, and I really like the fact that they do not do the hard sell at the end of your spa treatment. They say, oh, did you like any of the products? And I was like, yeah, they were all great. They're like, do you want any of them? And I just said, no, not really. And they said, okay, great. That's it. On Celebrity, love Celebrity to death. One of my favorite cruises I've ever been on in Alaska, did the spa treatment on there. That is a hard sell. They want you to buy those elements, like things like no one's been. They like will ask you like 1,000 times if you want to buy it. So much so that I finally just gave in and bought it because I was like, I just need you to stop asking me. So that's the other thing I really do appreciate about the spa. The other thing I say about the spa that I really like is that, at least on the Magic, they have a sauna in the locker room that you can just use whenever you want. I enjoy the sauna, so I was able to use that. And the gym facilities in the spa area are great too. I actually got up twice on the cruise and went to the gym and worked out. And so I really enjoyed that. But so the whole spa experience on the Magic is it's really great. Just keep in mind when you're booking it to make sure that you are getting the discounts, because otherwise those treatments can be quite expensive. And make sure that you add the gratuity, because I made a little mistake and didn't add the gratuity because I was like, I'm just going to give them cash at the end, or I was going to have them, because I didn't know. They make you tip before, because if you buy all of them, the things at once, you have to tip before you actually get the treatments. So I actually ended up having to go back on the last day and being like, I did not tip because I thought I was going to, because they run your account when you book all of the stuff for the discounts on that first day. So if you want to tip, you have to go back and physically ask them to add it to your account after you're done, because you sign that slip of paper on the first day when you book it, and then they never have you sign anything again. So just keep in mind that if you want to add gratuity, you're physically going to have to go back after your last treatment and have them physically added on.
Well, that's the most information we've ever gotten on the spa, and I really enjoy that. So, I mean, I think the spas are amazing. That shave that I did on the Wonder just recently was, as you said, pretty magical. So, Christy, how about you as far as entertainment, or do you have something to say about the spa?
Yeah, I have something to say about gratuities in really quick. One is that if you forget to bring small bills with you on this cruise and you order room service, I don't have anything to say about the spa for one. And I do have something to say about entertainment. So we'll come to that in a second. But if you order for room service and you forget to bring small bills, you can ask them to bring you like a charge slip, remember when the restart started, they would send it to your phone and you could tip them in your phone? I originally asked if they did that when I called to do my room service order. They don't do that. So, but they said, oh, we'll bring you a slip. And so he just brought it like at a hotel where you sign the little piece of paper. So I was able to add my gratuity that way because I definitely forgot to bring small bills with me on this trip. That was just something I had thought of while Anthony was talking. You can do everything. If you don't have the cash, just ask them to bring you a slip so you can pay. So while Anthony was at his haircut and shave the first night, he was actually going to try to meet me, and then his stuff took forever. So he didn't. But I saw Tangled, and man, Tangled is so good. A note on the theater, everybody seats themselves. There's no social distancing. They're not telling you at this point to fill all available space. There wasn't very many people on our cruise. I think there was like 1,500 or something, they said. So you could sit wherever you wanted. There was ample seating. I felt the most comfortable in the back row. So I was just sort of by myself. And I sat back there. I had a spot for Anthony. He never showed up to sit next to me. But man, that is a good show. I love Frozen. And I still think Frozen is my number one show, I think. But Tangled is either tied or just below it. Really, 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 really good show. And then we did not go to any of the other shows in the evening, but they had two more. They had like Believe, and what was the other one? Do you remember, Anthony? It wasn't Golden Mickey's.
No, Twice Charmed.
I don't think it was. Charmed? Maybe it was Twice Charmed, but
no, Twice Charmed making a return on a Grease cruise.
Yeah. It was something else. So there was something else. One night we stayed up late. Oh, I texted you, Steve, because this would be a good trivia for you.
Yes.
We went to 70s trivia, and the couple that were sitting next to us were like, we were born in the 90s or the 90s.
In the 90s.
90s. Yeah. Born in the 90s. We were like, oh man, that feels old.
Like, ouch.
And we're like, yeah. We actually, I actually got quite a few of the songs. But no.
I did not get any of them. I was not born. I was born a decade later.
Mm-hmm. He likes to point that out.
So we did do this entertainment. This is really actually great.
This was great. The trivia, which we knew nothing about, I still don't even know how we ended up in that room when trivia started, was so entertaining. The entertainment host for trivia was the same for Match Your Mate, which we'll talk about in a second.
Tisa.
Oh, there you go. She was fantastic. Like,
she write it down.
Yes.
She may have been.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is. She's so funny. And
so we were like, our stomachs hurt. We were laughing so much.
So to be clear, this is adult entertainment time. Mm-hmm. It is like, it started at like 9 or something.
Which is a struggle. We both had coffee at dinner.
Yes.
Which, by the way, cappuccinos at dinner only cost $2.25 or something like that. So real cheap. Or you can get an included cup of coffee. Or you can go to the Cove and pay like $5, which is still very inexpensive for nice coffee. But and Anthony stole my coffee card. I would just like to point that out. It's in his lanyard, which he left with. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it is adult entertainment, and Tisa does curtail her comedy to adult entertainment. So it's 100%, it's a little weird because you're on a Disney cruise ship to hear the things that they say, but it is adult entertainment. So we did the 70s show, the 70s trivia, and then they did this thing called Intuition. And so they took 6 people up on the stage, 12 people up on the stage, 6 people on the stage, 6 people on the ground. And she gave it's like literally the easiest game in the world. She gave them 6 numbers, 1 through 6, and they literally had to put themselves. She would like yell out a number, be like 465,702, and they would have to put themselves in this order. And these are like grown adults that they could not do it. Like, it was literally the most hysterical thing ever. And then we did Then they had Match Your Mate. Every time I've seen it, the 3 times I've seen it, they do it the same way every single time. It's a newlywed, and then it's a couple that's been together between like 5 and 10 years, and then they do the oldest, like not the oldest, the people that have been married the longest. And bless, like they asked some questions that I'm just like would not want to answer these in public.
Yes, and one of them. The daughter. The adult daughter signed up her parents basically. And the mom was like, mm-mm. And then eventually they went up there. But then the adult daughter was like, hey, these are my parents. Well, what did you think was going to happen? Like, you signed them up. And they were married for like 43 years. So they actually got the noise canceling headphones with the silent DJ headphones, and they put them on the daughter. And they also used those headphones on the other couple when they were answering the questions. So it was very funny.
Yes. Just know that it's very
adult entertainment.
It's very adult. I mean, and it's no lie. They ask
hilarious.
Yes. And they ask the questions of, and I just now know that I will never, ever want to be on it because they ask questions about every aspect of your marriage.
All the things.
And then the best part is that you see those people around
everywhere after
the rest of the trip. And you're like, I know things about you because they...
Including the married for 43 years, including that person you see everywhere as well. And you're like, we know things.
So just know that before you get up on stage. And I will say, Tisha, it's Tisha, right?
Tisa, yep.
Tisa, she is so quick. So if anybody has her, you are in for a treat. That whole cruise. Make sure you go to everything that she does. And she is so quick-witted that you've got to listen to everything she says because she's like nailing one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. It's great.
She's hilarious.
Was so good. It was the most fun. That was the only night we did entertainment. We stayed up
until like 11:45.
Yeah, we did good.
We were like night owls that night.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Let's turn to Castaway Cay. We'll skip Nassau because I think everybody skips Nassau, the poor port that it is.
No, but let me tell you something about Nassau. First of all, we got ripped off from our really awful cab driver taking us to a resort on our way out. And we had a lovely day at this resort. Then on our way back, we actually got some guy who is in his real car that is very fancy. I sort of put this towards Anthony's taxi experience. It's like we got bad taxi from the airport in the beginning and the good driver on the way back at the end, because this driver we had is amazing. We have his card. You can reach out to us and we will give you the information. His price was amazing. His driving was amazing.
Oh my God, his driving was so much better than the first one. I almost got sick on the drive there.
I was very seasick, very nauseous from the drive out to the resort we were going to. And this guy's driving was amazing. So if anybody wants to hire a private car, he says that he does tours and like private cars for the day, or just like, you can set him up to have you drive wherever you want to go. He was so good. He's got like a day job as well. So he does this like on off hours type of thing, but he picked us up at like 3:00. So it wasn't like we were getting picked up at a weird time. Reach out to me. I will get you the information. He was so good.
Do you want me to put it in the show notes?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Just send me the information. I'll make sure I put it in the show notes. Because I mean, so many people go to Nassau. So many of the ships go to Nassau. I guess just real quick, what resort did you guys go to? Did it include lunch and everything?
We did. Yes. We went to Sandals as a travel agent tour. I set this up beforehand. We were supposed to be able to see rooms, but then they said, we're not doing room tours this day. So I don't know if if everybody can go and do a resort for a day type situation there, but there is a website called Resort for a Day. So you can go on there and it's legitimate and you can find resorts that you can go and have access to for the day. But they fed us very well. I had gluten-free, safe food. They did burn us with their coffee. It's very hot coffee. The pools were nice, though. The beach was nice. It was very windy.
I had a nice nap. It was great.
Anthony had several naps, all fine. Everything was fine. He took several. It was a nice day.
Well, perfect. Well, let's get to Castaway. Anthony, what are some of the things that you like to do when you go to Castaway Cay?
I love the Serenity Bay. I napped on Serenity Bay. Like we said, this was a travel agent trip, so we spent a good amount of time walking and taking pictures. Those characters in those little areas, so you have two options when you get to Castaway. Obviously, you've talked about this a million times. You can either take the tram or walk. I would opt to walk every single time because you're going to miss the characters on the side of the road that do these little, like, fun little quirky little things that they do. Goofy was on one side, and then was it Donald and Daisy were on the other, and then Minnie was in a Jeep on the one side. Yeah, we did that, and we walked around and we saw all the different places that you can eat and shop. We went to Cookies at 11:30 to get Chrissy's not so gluten-free lunch. And then we went out to Serenity Bay where we found chairs, and I sat in the water for a good half hour, 45 minutes in a chair. And then I moved myself up to a lounger where I took a nice solid nap and got slightly sunburned. Not too bad, but a little sunburned. And then we went back it was just a really calm, relaxing day. The beach was even the main beach was super empty. It wasn't empty. There were so many chairs there was like at least 2 rows of chairs that weren't even being used.
It was more than that, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was just a calm, relaxing day for us.
All of the chairs and the hammocks are back. So, for months and months after the restart, they had the chairs separated and there weren't as many. So they're all back, but the hammocks are back. So you get to have your hammock experience if you have it. But we did a tour of the beach because we were waiting for my lunch at Cookies 1. And so instead of going down to Serenity Bay and then coming back, we just said, because that's where you go to get allergy food. Instead of going there and coming back, we just stayed. And we, we're on a work trip. So we took pictures of everything. They have, did you know they have basketball nets? They have ping pong. They have pool.
That's my kid's favorite place to go. It's like a little hideaway.
They have air hockey.
Yep.
They have so much. I think back there too, they had like a giant tic-tac-toe thing. And then I believe they had chess as well. And I want to say, do you know where this is located, Steve? I think it's over by Cookies 2, right? I think it's back in that area.
Yeah, it's right after, it's in between Cookies 1 and Cookies 2.
Okay. So I had like seen some of it, but I have never seen that much. So that was fun. Obviously they have a splash pad. So just for people that are looking for something different to do with their kids, they do have a little tyke splash pad They have the two like water areas, one where, which we did not participate in these, but they have the one where you can do like a ropes type course and then the other two slides. So we just walked around and we took pictures. We took pictures for hours. I mean, we probably took hundreds of pictures. And then, like Anthony said, we relaxed at Serenity Bay and man, it's beautiful. I think I've been on 16 cruises and 16 cruises to Castaway Cay. And I had never been to Serenity Bay before.
I had, and it's lovely. It's quiet. They have people walking around and getting you drinks, and I got a drink that I half drank and fell asleep, and it was just lovely. It was just and then we had Paulo that night, so it was just a great day overall.
Let me say this too about sharing a room with Anthony. So we have different husbands. We are friends, but we're not like we need some privacy. Anthony took a shower a lot at the gym. That helps. And the split bathrooms obviously do help with that, with privacy. But with him taking a shower at the gym, it just gave us that separation so we could both get ready and both go. Also, he got his shirt and pants pressed, and they gave the most beautiful garment bag ever. I will be getting something pressed in the future because that garment bag is beautiful. The little DCL podcast, not DCL podcast, DCL. I mean, it said DCL on it, or Disney Cruise Line. It had this little logo on it. It wasn't like you're going to be charged $10 if you take this. It was just there.
Yes, it was lovely. I still have
and his clothes looked really nice.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like an amazing day at Castaway Cay. One of these days I'm going to get over to Serenity Bay, but just a fun time for both of you guys. Well, I guess as we kind of finish up, you guys come back to Miami. Before we talk about that, anything else that we haven't talked about on this cruise that you guys wanted to touch on?
Churro waffles. So if you recall, Amber talked about getting churro waffles in Cabanas for breakfast. I do not know if they served them at Cabanas for breakfast because we did not go there. We went to sit down dining for breakfast every day, but I pre-ordered because I had heard that they exist, these churro waffles. Then Anthony, the second day, pre-ordered churro. They took them a day. So the first morning they could not get them for me. It was totally fine. They were just like, whatever, for whatever reason, they couldn't get them, but they said they would have them for me the next day. They were amazing. Everybody, I think mine were actually better than Anthony's. They looked better, but everybody should get churro waffles. And if you pre-order them from your dining team the night before, they will make them for you in the dining room the next day. And, people always say Cabanas, they go to Cabanas because it's quick. That main dining room was very quick for breakfast and lunch each of the days that we were there. That's my opinion.
How about you, Anthony? Anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to touch on with this trip?
No, we covered quite a bit of the stuff on the trip. I just had a really relaxing time and good time and getting refamiliarized with all the ships and taking great naps.
Pirate Night. We didn't talk about Pirate Night. So we didn't
go to Pirate Night.
We didn't go, but it existed. It occurred. And I did ask in our cruise group if the Pirate Night buffet was back. And they did say yes. There was another agent that had answered my question. And she was like, yes, I went to see if it existed and I checked it out. And then I left instantly as well. So we were asleep that night, probably because Anthony ate 5 courses at Palo. The buffet is back and the whole Pirate Night experience. So if you are into that, it has returned.
Love the magic. I'm going to be sailing on her again. So...
Well, are you excited? I know that you are a cruiser that likes to go over to Europe. We're going to hopefully see you on the Greece cruise. Hopefully we're all going to make it over there and everything's going to go good. We're going to get on board that ship and do that sailing together. Are you excited that the Dream's going next year?
I am, but I am not going to Europe next year. Yeah.
You're going to the Caribbean on the Magic, huh?
That would be funny.
Southern Caribbean is a possibility. We are actually probably my husband. So this year, long story short, I pretty much have chosen all the vacations that we are going on this year for multiple reasons.
Is that wrong?
It's not wrong, I guess. He enjoys being married to a travel agent that does all the planning. But we are thinking about going, and which I was a little sad about, but because Hawaii was not on the DCL release, but we are still thinking about going to Hawaii and doing a majority land stay. We were also going to possibly look at doing NCL and doing the Pride of America around the islands. So that's going to be like our big trip next year. So unfortunately, I will not be going, but don't be sad. I am going to Europe twice this year. It's paid in full. Both trips are paid in full. So we're going. We'll be I'm spending 20 days on the Magic in Europe this summer, almost a full, and there's a possibility that I'll be adding a third trip in September, depending on some stuff. So I'll spend a whole month on the Magic this summer. We are doing the 9-night Greece cruise with all of you, which I convinced Christy to join us on because she was on the 8-night. Who wants to do that when you can add an extra night? And then we are doing the 11-night Northern Europe. Even though they've changed the itinerary about 101 times, we are still going to go do Denmark, Germany, Belgium, and Norway for my parents' retirement because that's what they wanted to do. And so, yeah, me and the Magic are just going to be best friends.
So when you guys are, anybody else on the Magic here recently or are going to be singing on it soon, and you walk down and you see Anthony's name on one of the staterooms and a little plaque, you'll know where he stays. They get it all ready for you for this summer. Well, I'm glad you guys had just such a magical vacation, Anthony. I look forward to doing a trip report, hopefully with you once you get on a different ship, whether it's the Dream or the Wish here sometime soon.
I'm on the Greece cruise with you in like 40 days or something. That's like coming up like real quick. And then I'm in Norway, and then I'm scheduled to be on the Wish. When Christy gets off the Wish in Labor Day, I get on the ship. And then I'm scheduled to be on the Dream at the end of September with a group of friends. I'm thinking about adding one more at the end during one of the holidays, either Thanksgiving or the December, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I look forward to seeing what your thoughts are once you sail on something other than the Magic. I love the Magic too. She's still my favorite ship, I think, overall, even though we're gold on the Wonder. I'm jealous that you're gold on the Magic. Well, thank you so much for coming back and being on our show, Anthony. It's been a long time catching up with you. I know that you and Allie run a wonderful podcast over at Magical Wanderlust Podcast for people to follow along with all of your guys' adventures. You touch on Disney Cruise Line, Disney World, all different aspects of traveling with Disney. If people want to get in touch with you, Anthony, how can they find you on your podcast? And more importantly, you run your own travel business as a travel agent. How can they get a hold of you if they want to use your services as a travel agent as well?
So I do own my own travel agency. It's Magical Wanderlust Adventures. If you pop it into Google, it's actually the first page that pops up. It says travel agent. You can either request a quote from me there, or you can DM me on Instagram. It's Magical Wanderlust Adventures, Magical_Wanderlust_Adventures. I'm the most active on there. I have actually a whole highlights reel from this trip, I believe, on there. So if you want to check that out. And then Magical Wanderlust Podcast can be found on iTunes and all the major platforms. I haven't posted an episode in a while just because I've been so busy, but this week it will be a new episode will go up. It will actually be the voice memos that I did while I was on this trip. So it will be about the trip, but it's a different version because I recorded every single day a little voice memo about things. So it will be pretty detailed, but yeah.
I love that. That's one of the things that we started to, well, we used to do it with our kids every now and then, but I started doing that with Wake on our latest trips and everything like that. And people really love those like little snippets of your trip and kind of as you're living in the moment. So look forward to hearing that. Christy, with the 2023 summer dates out, Alaska, Europe in 2023, Southern Caribbean, how can people get a hold of you if they want to use you as a travel agent?
They can reach me at Christy@packyourpixiedust.com is my email address. They could go to my website, packyourpixiedust.com, which in the contact section has either a direct message right to me center or area, I should say, or it has my office phone number and email address on there too. So lots of contact ways. I am all over social media at Pack Your Pixie Dust.
Perfect. I'll make sure that I've got all you guys' information, Anthony's and Christy's, in the show notes as well, so you can get a hold of them as well there. So I guess any final thoughts before we get out of here, Anthony, since you're our guest today? He's shaking his head. Or go ahead.
No, I guess I will see you both in like 40 days in Italy and Greece, and let's all hope all goes well and we'll see each other on the ship.
Definitely looking forward to that. So much amazing food, and the sun and the Mediterranean is just like my favorite sea to cruise along. So looking forward to seeing you over there, Anthony. All the best to you. Forward to your next podcast, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, it's fun to catch up with Christy and hear all about her cruise, and also with Anthony, the two of them traveling together. And of course, you can find out and catch more of Anthony's travels over at the Magical Wanderlust Podcast. Just a great podcast where he focuses on all things Disney, from traveling to the parks, traveling on the cruise line, and also gives you lots of tips and tricks on how to make your next Disney vacation a little bit more magical. Well, if you've been enjoying this podcast and you know others who'd enjoy it as well, we sure would appreciate it if you pass it along. That helps us get the word out in the Disney cruising, the Disney podcasting, and just the cruising podcasting community in general. Also, if you have time to go over and leave a review for us on iTunes, that really helps us spread the word as well. Thank you to each and every one of you who have taken the time to do so. As always, we'd like to give a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. They help bring this show to you each and every week. You can find out more about our Patreon program. If you'd like to help support the show, go over to patreon.com/DCL podcast. You can find out all the information there. Well, it is June 3rd. I am in Phoenix, and it is hot, 100 degrees. Summer is upon us. On behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, as you head out on your summer vacations, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.